I spent a lot of time playing basketball and making friends and building my confidence and self-esteem when the rest of the world was taking it away from me.
Before Title IX and shortly thereafter, we needed players to stand out. We needed name recognition. Nancy was probably the most high-profile player during that era.
From the time she was a little kid, she knew what she wanted to do.
I'm like, wow, where'd you steal that? No, but she won an Olympic medal.
She's one of those few wizards with the basketball. And, you know, there's a lot of players, but there's not that many wizards.
Lady Magic, come on, we all grew up watching Nancy.
She put women's basketball on the map. The WNBA wasn't around then, and so you didn't have a platform where you can go to a next level.
It transformed, I transformed women's tennis, but men's tennis as well.
I hold up the jock strap and I go, "Yo, Jack!" And all the guys in the locker room turned around. And I said, "If you want me to practice today, I'm gonna need something much bigger than this." And I flung it at him.
Nancy came in, that's how I first got introduced to her, because she hit me with an elbow when she was driving to the basket.
We started talking, and immediately, I didn't like her. Didn't like her at all. She was cocky, she was arrogant, and I'm looking at the white version of me.
Talking about basketball and her trying to I said, come on, Nancy, you can't do that. There's not a challenge that she does not accept. But let me say this before I even get into that. I have nothing but the utmost respect for Nancy. Nancy, with her what do they call sports courts or whatever she's doing, she's going back to my hometown.
She's been through it, and she didn't really want anybody else to go through what she went through.
I started, meeting a lot of corporate people and telling them I told them my story. Look, I was a poor kid, and it changed my life, and people helped me, and I could really use your help.
While your playtime is fleeting, the ability to make almost any minute that you were on the court, your experiences, your career, and leverage it into something that benefits a lot of people. Nancy's as good or better than anybody I've ever met.
How about that? Nice video, nice people, right? Hey, I want to thank BSN to start, because I'm not on this Zoom with everybody without them. And they're so intentional about trying to help not only young athletes, kids, they're adamant that you, the coach, that we are in this together, that we have to be better. And we do. Right? High school kids, they need you, and they need a lot about you. So, I can go down a list of things that high school coaches, the profound impact that you have on athletes before and after. And I'll talk about some of the things that have happened, whether it's character building or leadership or work ethic, discipline, all those things that we go into practice every single day. But there's stories behind it. I was a high school coach. Some of you know I grew up in New York City. I was born in Brooklyn, grew up in Queens. And every generation has their story. Nobody has anything on me, and I don't have anything on anybody else. But I can tell you right now, as somebody who is a Hall of Famer and a two-time Olympian and has not only played the game, but also now as a coach, it's so important to have some empathy and kindness and understanding. And a lot of players are different, and we can't just lump players into the same bucket and say, well, this is what we're doing every day in practice. This is my expectation level. I think what I've learned through my career in coaching, and I've coached in the WNBA, I've coached in the NBA G League, I've coached in the NBA, the second female to coach in the NBA with the Sacramento Kings. And the last 6 years, I've been a head coach in a men's league with the Big Three, where we won the championship in 2018. I was coach of the year, first time for a woman in a men's league. And, you know, my boss happens to be that guy, Ice Cube. And I can tell you at every point as an athlete or then as a coach, I can go back to those moments of how I was treated or how coaches made me feel. And then if I trusted you, then I allowed you to be a part of my life, even post my athletic career. So, you know, like a couple things with me growing up, like I can remember I was a junior in high school at Far Rockaway High School. And, you know, there was a little article in the newspaper, and it said the United States women were going to play 3-game exhibition against Russia. And that had never happened in the US. So there was open tryouts. So I go to these open tryouts at Queens College. Now, mind you, I'm 16, you know, 15 years old, I should say. And what happened was unbelievable. I'm so thankful for my high school basketball coach, Larry Morse. I'm thankful for my other high school basketball coach, Brian and Barbara Sakowitz, because the commitment they made to me, I was scared. You know, think of it. I'm a little 15, 16-year-old, and now I'm playing against some of the greatest players who have ever played the game on women's basketball, Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers. And unbeknownst to me, some of them in a year later were going to be my teammates on the Pan American team and my teammates on the 1976 Olympic team. So I'm still the youngest Olympic basketball player ever. And the reason I bring that up to you is there was no roadmap for somebody like me. So some of my teammates actually, like Pat Head Summit, she was my teammate on the 75 Pan Am team and my 75 Olympic team. And I'm really grateful to Pat, because even though I had great coaches like Billy Moore and Sue Gunner, Pat was there to help me, to understand me. Like, you don't know the people that you're coaching sometimes, you know, what they're feeling down deep. Like, I held everything inside. Like, I was poor. I had no food. I had no electricity. We had no heat. I had no father. There were days I was hopeless and helpless. And I didn't know if I was going to kill you. And I didn't know if I was going to kill me or join a gang. And you, the coach, saved my life. And that's why I like being on these calls, because there's a lot of kids like me that were angry, that were hurt, that were broken. And then we get to be with you. And you don't have to solve every world problem for us, but just how you care and the nurturing. And in that nurturing, look, trust me, I got the Pat Summit stare. I had her yelling at me when I played for her a couple years later on the USA team. But coaches mean so much. I mean, the value proposition of you, the coach, it's immeasurable, quite frankly. You know, I needed to develop my character. My character, I didn't have conflict resolution. So I would just get in fistfights in high school and junior high. And my coach was like, Nancy, you can't beat everybody up because they don't agree with you. And I can remember, you know, them sitting me down and talking to me about my actions, my attitudes, what makes me happy, what makes me sad. And the word values, nobody had ever used the word, you know, important values of, you know, teamwork and discipline, all the things, perseverance, sportsmanship. I don't think sportsmanship was really a big part of what I did. I just played hard. So I needed to survive. A lot of your athletes just need to survive. And sometimes we get mad at them because we don't understand them. And I have taken a step back in my coaching career, and I was like, I got to get to know my players. I have to understand, are they happy? Are they sad? They're still going to have to run lines. They're going to have to run suicides. They're going to have to run my offense. They're going to have to run my defense. But if they know, you know, drip, drip, pour, pour, if you lead with love and you lead with kindness, empathy, Um, you know, I think young people just also want to know that they're being heard. And I live in a world of 360 communication. Communication is, I get to talk to you, and at the end of my comments today, you get to talk to me. So listening is as important as you being the one who's talking. And I see that all the time with, you know, I'm coaching, you know, $100 million athletes or more. And it's really important for them to know that you care enough to hear what they have to say. And they all get a vote. And when I say they get a vote, even like my son TJ, who, you know, I've coached most of his career, he's a professional. He played at Plano West and went to Richmond, then has played professionally, and he plays for me in the Big Three. I think the biggest thing I've learned over the years coaching my son is like sometimes I just got to shut up and listen. They're not, your players are not always asking for your wisdom. They're asking for you to hear them and for them to emote. And when we don't allow this, they shut down. I was that kid who shut down. And there was this wall, and you couldn't get over that wall because the wall was about trust. And I didn't trust people. You know, that's been one of the hardest things, even in life and love and business and sports. I work every day on finding, you know, trust in people, but right, trust is given, but trust is earned. And everybody, you know, we're coaches, we have our own life, we have kids and, you know, husbands and wives and partners and dogs and cats. And the other thing that life brings us, we're busy people, but those kids are your people. And if we choose to be in this position, then we have to be influencers. I can remember my coach, Lavoisier Lamar. He was one of my all-time favorite coaches. And Lamar would come to my house and pick me up because he knew I didn't have money to get on a bus or get on a train to go to practice. And he'd pick me up, and when he picked me up, he had food for me, you know, some fast food, because he didn't know if I had eaten that day. And little things for me was that he cared enough about me. He might have cared enough about me because I was one of his best players, but he cared. That other thing, how I played, was insignificant to me, but he showed me, he fostered these leadership qualities, and he was consistently consistent. You know, he wasn't up and down, up and down, up and down. I'm nice, I'm not, you know, I'm yelling, I'm screaming, I'm not. He was really pretty remarkable. And he provided like a calm space for me all in the name of winning. And we won. I mean, he was my AAU coach in Harlem, and he was taking this little white girl into Harlem, you know, every weekend to play. And, you know, for the 8 years that I played AAU ball, I bet you we won, you know, 100 championships. I learned discipline. I learned showing up, being responsible, being accountable, not being afraid. You know, if we did lose, why did we lose? And he would always talk it out and not yell at us. Today's players, they're different animals. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude to young kids, but you know, they have this thing called social media, and if something bothers them, click, they're on it. Every day, some young people have something that they're angry or bothered about. And I don't want to say they're soft. Maybe I am saying they're soft. They're not tough in certain situations. And with all this mental health going on, you, the coaches, there's a lot for you to deal with, and it's not going to be easy for you. And again, some of you might know that Kobe Bryant was a dear friend of mine, and we would talk about basketball all the time, from when he was playing in Italy to when he got to Lower Merion, and he started playing, you know, for Greg Downer, who was his high school coach there, and how he was treated. And even later on in life, even after we lost Kobe and I spent time with Greg, and I said to him, how is it all these years later, you know, your little Kobe from, you know, from Lower Marion High School, and here you are at the gym with him, you know, 25 years later. And he said, we built a relationship. You know, it was based on trust. It wasn't based on perfection. It was based on having some conversations, carving out a little for each of, you know, the kids on the team. I needed to know the kiddos' names. Hey, look, I coached in the NBA, and this is a true story. George Karl, who's a Hall of Famer, really great coach. He kept calling Rondo Rajon, and we kept saying his name is, he kept calling him Rajon, and we kept saying it's Rajon Rondo. He didn't know the guy's name. We're in a game, we're down 2 points, and we're playing, I think, against Portland. And he goes, Mario, he looks down the bench, Mario, one of our best 3-point shooters. It was Marco Bellinelli. He didn't know his name. So that really showed our team. That was one of the really fracturing points of our team. We had DeMarcus Cousins, Rondo, Darren Collison, Willie Cauley-Stein, you know, Rudy Gay. We had some amazing players on our team, both young and old. Ben McLemore. Coach didn't know a lot of guys' names. So something as simple, just know their names, right? Know their names, know their games. And that's what we bring to the party. We can't, you know, it can't just be about telling them, well, you do this and you do that. We have to be better. We have to level up as coaches. Because if we build, you know, John Wooden, and I'm so blessed to have known John Wooden. I just aged myself. Oh, I thought I wasn't going to do that. But, you know, the John Wooden pyramid, if the pyramid is upside down, it's going to be like this. And if you wonder why you're not consistently doing well, you're going to have to, you know, be the man in the mirror, the woman in the mirror. You're going to have to take a look at yourself. I check my motives every day when I'm coaching my players. I checked my motives when I was, you know, coaching my son when he was in junior high and high school. And it can't just be, you know, one way, you know, this is the way it's going to, yeah. I mean, you want to build culture. You know, so many of you on this call have had tremendous success, but if you want long-term success and sustainability, then you have to create that with your culture and what you do and the repetition of who you are. Because another thing that I learned from Coach Summit when I was coaching in the WNBA with the Detroit Shock, and I was right there every day with the Pistons and you know, Coach Collins and Grant Hill and Joe Dumars and all these guys, Lambeer, Mahorn. One of the things that I realized when I was coaching is that I do have to understand my players. So Pat says to me one day, Nancy, this company is called Performance Plus. So we had the Pistons, we had the hockey team, we had people in the building in Detroit, our team as well. Even us, I hated to do this because I was going to be exposed for the fraud that I am. So on one page, it was how you view yourself. On the other page, it was how you feel people view you. And then when this got put in to the analysis, it then gave you the synthesis of who you really are. Are you aggressive? Are you, they had this little thing, it almost looked like a music board, A, B, C, D, E, and then a line. And then the other side, did you have AD conflict? Do you get along with people? Do you yell at people? Are people afraid of you? I'm not even going to tell you what mine came back, but it was something I think that we call an alpha wolf. And I had to understand me, but I also had to understand my players, because I was reading this thing and I'm like, I cannot believe it's saying that I'm aggressive, that I'm forceful, that I'm blah, blah, sarcastic. Yeah, it was pretty spot on. And I had to get better. If I'm going to be a better coach, then I had to be better. And it was not about my work ethic. It wasn't about my discipline. It wasn't about, you know, hard work or dedication. It was about just having a little bit of an understanding for other people. Because, you know, we're working with people right here in the now. And sometimes we don't think of, you know, what 5 or 10 years is gonna be. Not every athlete is gonna be a professional or a Hall of Famer or an Olympian. It's just not the way it's going to be. So what are you pouring in for these kiddos, these athletes, to be doctors, lawyers, dare I say politicians, CEOs of companies? And I will say this, Warren Buffett has been a friend of mine since 1989, 90. And he was telling me about 6, 7 years ago that Bill Gates had this program, and they put $5 billion into this program. And they gave all the researches, the technology, the support, everything that this group who was selected to be the prototype. And the conclusion, you know, outcomes, you know, and conclusions after you have all your metrics, is that these brainiac kids who had all this support, all the money, all the proper teaching and coaching, the one thing that they learned is if we took athletes or former athletes, right, that you coach and I coach, and we put them in this room and we give them those resources for the world to have those next jobs, they would crush it, because the kids that we coach are competitive. They're disciplined. They show up. They are not afraid to win, and they're not afraid to lose. When we do lose, what happens? We come back the next day, we watch film, they watch film, we strategize, we're trying to understand game plans, we have to work in a team environment. Those are all the things that your players are going to have to do next level. And that's something that we can give them if we are open-minded enough to just not, you know, be looking through that one lens of winning or losing, because winning and losing is going to define who I am. And I don't want to be thought of as less than, or it's going to affect my paycheck. I mean, you can have it both ways. You can make a lot of money, and you can also change people's lives. And I think sometimes as we get older, we start to see a different side of us. I want to be an influencer, not because of my title or the what the video said, how great I was. That's a bunch of nonsense. I want to be consistently consistent. I want to have intentional greatness, and I want to be purposeful in anybody that I come in contact with. Before I got on this today for you guys, for BSN, I just spent an hour moderating a press conference for the Basketball Hall of Fame and my boss, Ice Cube. And, you know, I'm thinking back, I'm like, how do I get these jobs? How do I get these opportunities? How is this man my friend? Because he's authentic. Yes, he's iconic. Yes, he's elite. Yes, you know, he's done things for so many people, but it makes me feel good to know that Ice Cube is my boss and he's my friend. And I think that it's okay when kids grow up, you're going to want them as your friend. So you need to teach them all the things in life, like time management, about balancing academics, sports, other responsibilities that they're going to have, because that's a challenge for people in high school. It really is. Developing, you know, I live with kind of like a master plan. It sounds really cumbersome and important. I have it in my phone. I know what my schedule's like. I also, maybe I'm old school, because I have a schedule that's on paper, and Nancy still likes to cross off the things that she does. That's just me. You don't have to be like that. I understand technology, but you can help young people, you know, develop, you know, effective time management, kind of teaching them how to prioritize, certain things within flexibility of what they want to do during the course of the week. And I've also found that confidence and self-esteem come, and Pete Maravich said this one day. He said that if I do things over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, it becomes a habit. When something becomes a habit, this is exactly who you are. Now you don't have to attach a name to it. And I'm confident because I do my homework. Now, okay, hear me out, because this is what I share with people. I'm just using myself as an example. I do all the TV for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and I actually do about 20 games this year to help the New Orleans Pelicans. I could go on TV Thursday night and do my job, and you would never, ever know that I never read stats, that I did not watch film, that I didn't go on Synergy. And you would never know. I would know. And that's not how I live. I want to be the best. To this day, I'm still a wolf. Some people say they're a dog. Well, wolves eat dogs. Okay. I don't want to be a dog. I want to be a wolf. And I say I want to be a wolf because the strength of the wolf is the pack, and the strength of the pack is the wolf. So I need great people around me, but I want to be great. Every day I wake up and God gives me a chance to open up my eyes. I think, how can I be inspirational today? How can I help somebody today? If I'm having a crappy day, I think about what can I do for somebody else? Because then it takes the emphasis away from maybe what I'm doing. Not to say I ignore stuff that's happening in my life. My son was trapped in Israel. He plays professional basketball in Israel. We couldn't get him out 4 weeks ago. I had to go into mom mode. So yeah, I had some stuff on my heart and stuff on my mind until we could get Homeland Security to send a rescue jet to Israel to get TJ and his teammates out of the country because, of Hamas and the war that's going on over there. So yeah, not every day is a perfect day for me, but the difference between a good day and a bad day is your attitude and your belief. And again, like I said before, I can say, well, I'm a Hall of Famer, I'm this, I'm rich, I've done this, these are my friends. That's BS. That means nothing. If I'm an influencer, I have to give you a reason to follow me. How I walk, how I talk, how I care, how I conduct myself with other people. That's on you. Because again, I can go down a list of things that, goal setting and short-term and long-term and life lessons and challenges and, translating sports into valuable life lessons, healthy life choices, how you eat, how you take care of yourself, nutrition, fitness, because, Father Time, he's never been beaten. I know. I played in the WNBA at 39 and I played in the WNBA at 50. It's hard. It's hard when you mentally think you can still do something, but the most important thing that you can offer your players is the fact that you care about them, is the fact that you're challenging them to be better. You're giving them the ingredients. Now they have to do it. I mean, they're responsible too. You're not their babysitter. So it's really important at the end of the day, how you talk to people. And everybody's different. I'm more of a minimalist. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. These will be the results. I had the attention span of a fly. I mean, I could be telling you about this and Kobe and getting on the helicopter, and then a fly will go by or a squirrel. And I'm like, oh my gosh, where'd it go? But what was I saying? So we joke around the office, or my players, they joke that, if coach says squirrel, just let her say what she's got to say, because she gonna be looking at something else in a minute. So they know me. It's okay. I want to know the good, the bad, and the ugly, but I want them to know that I care. I want Big Baby Davis or Katino Mobley or Corey Maggette or Glenn Rice Jr., or my son plays for me in the big three. I want my players to know that I care. That is the beginning and the end of trust. You know, I'm going to have to play through some of their mistakes. I'm not here to embarrass them. I'm here to point out, maybe in private, right? Get to know your players. I have a saying, and you can write this down. KYP. Know your personnel. If you know you have somebody who's highly sensitive or insecure, don't beat them down in front of their teammates. All you're going to do is take them to a really difficult place to come back and to trust you. Now, Pat Summer could yell and scream at me in front of my teammates, Marianne Stanley. Pat Riley was my coach when I played for the Lakers in 1980 in their summer league. He'd be yelling at me all day. I didn't cry. I didn't sulk. My attitude was, I'm going to show him. I'm going to show him. That's a bunch of BS. I'm going to show this guy. So that got me competitive to want to be better. Some people don't work like that. Some people are shrinking violets. So, you know, KYP, know your personnel, know people, know how they handle the good stuff and know how they handle the bad stuff. But I can tell you, as a coach, as a high school coach, man, that's the greatest time because they're not multimillionaires yet. They still have this want of your knowledge. You're their mentor. You can guide so many of the players in a good direction. You're going to shape them holistically, and you're going to develop young athletes instilling values. What are values? Values are not winning and losing. That's the end result. Values are what we do every single day, back to that repetitive thing, and it becomes habitual. I know exactly where my keys are every day. Maybe I'm a little bit, I'm anal organized. I know it kind of rubs people the wrong way, but I'm very organized. And if something's missing, then I know maybe somebody moved it. That might be my son. But I want to make sure that with my kid, with my players, that I'm fostering essential life skills and providing support in an environment for their personal growth. I mean, I think that makes sense because we all want that, right? In life, in love, in business, in sports, in coaching, right? I mean, don't we want to be loved and cared for, even though some of us don't show that? But that's true. And we get that from communication. So everything I've just said for the last 25 or 30 minutes is based on communication. How do you communicate with me? What are you communicating with me? And how can this affect me? And then if it affects me, how can I affect somebody else? So I hope some of these things that I'm saying make sense, because again, we just don't know what people are going through on a daily basis. And we just have to be understanding. And look, I mean, if you talk to my coaches right now, they tell you I'm tough. I am. I'm firm, but I'm fair. And I set the tone of our team, and we're trying to build culture. And culture isn't just about winning. Players, their families can come in my locker room 30, 40 minutes before every game. When I say it's time, I need the kids out, I need grandma out, I need mom out, I need, you know, your wife, your girlfriends, your aunties, your baby mama, I need everybody out of the locker room. Now it's time. It's time for us to go to work. And so I set the tone of expectation. I don't deal in a lot of gray areas. You know, say what you mean and mean what you say. My players know, like I said, I'm firm, but I'm fair. And this could be high school. This could be AAU. It could be next level. You know, that's the blueprint of who I am. I mean, look at my friend, Coach Prime. Don't worry about the record right now. He's instilling growth. He's instilling a different mentality. He's trying to make these young men better wherever they go on a daily basis. Better men, better decisions, better opportunities, better work habits, understanding the want, the will, and then the result. So with that, I would love to open this up, if you will, to questions. I would love to answer anything that you might want. And how do you want to do this?
Awesome. Yeah. So basically, I'll just read the questions out to you that we got in the chat, and then you can just go ahead and respond. So Cassidy asked, what sort of confidence building exercises have you done with teams? I coach high school girls, and every year the confidence they come into the season with is lower and lower.
Great question. We come in and we're positive. We're positive about everything that we do. And we try. So many people are negative, and it filters throughout people. And our job as a coach is to make sure, right, that we're changing, that we're leveling up mentally and emotionally. So, I would let the players talk. When we warm up, we have our guys or gals sit in a circle as they're stretching, and everybody gets to say something that day. Everybody gets to say something that day. And they can ask a question or they can give a statement. And we want everybody to feel like they're valued. It's like if you happen to follow me on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, and I'm going to go to it this morning, every day, 5 days a week, I put out a quote. And then we talk about the quote. And today, the quote was from, I'm trying to pull it up here. It was from, Tom Brady. And it says, having a positive attitude and making the best of everyday opportunity, everyday opportunity that's in front of me led me to my success. So now we're going back. He didn't say he threw the ball a tight spiral. He didn't say they ran the West Coast offense. He said having a positive attitude and making the best of every opportunity in front of me led me to my success. I am in lockstep with Tom. The only difference between a good day and a bad day is your attitude and your belief. Hear that with your players and let them talk. Let them tell you what they're feeling, and then you then can respond to them individually and then as a team. But every day, I started doing this years ago, and it started out, I would put one of these positive messages, and I started to text it to people. Mike Tomlin, Rick Carlisle, Doc Rivers, Chris Finch, who coaches the Wolves, Tommy Lasorda when he was alive, Coach LaRussa, the baseball coach. So it ended up, I started having like 30 guys and gals who were on my text thread every morning for a positive message, because I just wanted to start their day in the right direction. And I knew it hit home when, somebody would say to me, I needed that today. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And these are pretty well-known, coaches for football, baseball, basketball. So you could do that with your players. Just put a positive note. You don't have to make up the quote. You can take a great quote and send it to them and just let them know you care.
Awesome. The next question asked, how do you explain to the parents, players, coaches who think the only reason to play is to win?
Well, I think it's important to win. I do. When you're at an elite level, if you're on an elite team, if you're, playing a program that values winning, I think it's important to tell parents up front, life is fellowship, but life is competitiveness. And if you want your baby to play here at this school, we're going to compete for opportunities. And we're going to push everybody to be better. I think if you're upfront and you get ahead of it, then you could always reference, when we had the parents meeting, I shared with you, we're going to play the best players. I would make sure that you're getting some extra work in with your kiddo. We can help you. Our assistant coaches can work. I love when players who really don't play come up to me and say, can you spend a few minutes in the gym with me? I love that. But I think you have to be upfront. And if it's depending on the type of program you're running, I mean, if you're running a program where everybody's going to get equality and equal minutes, then that's that's your desire of how you want to run things. If you're running a program where you're vying for championships and things like that, again, everybody's not going to get a participation certificate. They're going to have to earn their minutes, and we have to coach them up so they get a chance.
Awesome. I'm going to come back to Janine's question, but Tony asked something along the same lines and asked, what do you tell parents who would rather have their kids sit on the bench on a winning team than play and develop on a regular team?
I'm glad you said that. When TJ was in high school at Plano West, which is 5A, he never started on the varsity, okay? And TJ said to me his junior year, he goes, Mom, I could sit on the bench with, and I think they went to the state championship, might have won it. He goes, I can sit on the bench maybe. And I said, TJ, how are people going to see you in sweats? I said, why don't you play on the JV team and work on your game and get some confidence and get a better belief system? And then you can start to see maybe some areas of improvement, which will then give you, some focus on what you have to do to get better. And he did. So he had a really great junior year. His senior year, he goes to the varsity. And I think the coach called him TJ Lieberman. And he goes, Ma, the coach thinks that's my name. I said, tell me your name is TJ Klein. He goes, no, I don't want him to kick me off the team. And TJ actually ended being the MVP of the Plano West team that year, which led him, to get a scholarship. So I would rather not sit the bench just to say, look, John Calipari, my buddy, said to me when TJ had no scholarships, he goes, if your kid wants to come to Kentucky, I will let him come to Kentucky. And I said, TJ, go where you're needed. Do you want to go where you're needed or go where you're wanted? And you're not needed at Kentucky. But if it's important for you to wear that uniform, then you should do that. But go where you're needed and go where you're wanted. And he ended up going to Richmond. He worked hard. He went to Niagara for his first year. Then he transferred when coach left to Richmond. And that 1 year where he was transferring and had to sit out, and I said, son, every day that you practice against the team, you're auditioning for Coach Mooney and his staff. So when you come in and you're whining that, oh, nobody pays attention to me, you are auditioning for next year. He came into Richmond and knocked it out. He was the A-10 player of the year, which is unbelievable, least likely to ever happen. We didn't even know if he'd get a scholarship. So things can happen if you're willing to work and not fall. Your ego is not your amigo. How about that? Just do your work, do your job, and then good things will happen to you.
Awesome. For the sake of time, I think we're going to do one more question. Janine asked, what are some suggestions to be fair but firm when players need different things? Mental health is coming up a lot, and players needing time off to cope with pressures of life, balance school, ball, relationships, etc.
It's real. I mean, mental health is very real to this generation right now. So we can't just say, I'm tough as nails. They should fight through it. That's not the way it is. But I think you have to discuss it, because I don't want, a player like with the Lane Kiffin thing with one of his players the other day. I don't want a player, missing practice for 2 days and ghosting me. I think you have to have enough trust and build a relationship with people before, or maybe talk to the parents and say, let me know what your needs are for your child. I want to be able to be here as, you know, stability. But if I don't know, you know, you don't know what you don't know. And I think those are very real conversations that I didn't have to have with my players. I think it's tougher on coaches today because, you know, it's like firefighters. How many times? Well, they had to go get a cat out of a tree. They do that too? Wow. Okay. I just think it's harder for you because you have to be a coach, you have to be firm but fair, but you also have to have awareness. And, you know, KYP, know your player personnel. And then if you know somebody, now you can handle that player in a different way. And again, it's so important to have empathy and understanding. But if you need time off, you need to talk to me. You just can't, you know, not be here for 3 days. You still have a responsibility to your team, but we will support you.
Awesome. Thank you, Nancy. And thank you for this amazing presentation. I know all these coaches got so much information they can take back to their teams and their programs. I apologize we did not get to all the questions, but really thank you for bringing your A game on those. Those are some really awesome, insightful questions. This recording will be available sometime next week. So we'll get that over to you. But again, big thank you to Nancy for being here today, and we hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all have a
Let me
great
just say this, if you will, if you have questions, feel free, you know, go on Instagram if that's your thing, or Twitter, just hit me with your question and I will personally answer you back. That's my, you know, it's Nancy Lieberman on social. But if you have a question, I'd be more than happy to help to the best of my ability. So be well, God bless each and every one of you. And I just wish for you all to have intentional greatness.
Great. Thank you. Bye, everyone.